Hi and welcome back to my channel, and in this video we're going to be talking about personal safety. So this is you as a director and also you as a person who is employed and working for your community interest company. So I'm going to talk about personal safety because when we're all working in the community, of course we have to be aware of our own personal safety. There are unfortunately dangers and risks in the community when it comes to working with people, so we need to factor those in. So in this video I'm going to give you my 3 tips of how to keep yourself safe. So before I get into that, please hit the subscribe button for everything to do with community interest companies, and subscribing to this channel means you stay up to date with all my tips and tricks when it comes to community interest companies, social enterprises and grant funding. So also I'm going to be mentioning quite a lot in this video about policies, and actually if you join my membership you get access to my policy packs. So I have lots of pre-written policies, contracts, all sorts of stuff like that that's really useful for CIC directors. So you can join that, it's just $10.99, it's the CIC tribe, and you get tons of training and all sorts of other stuff on our app. So you can go over to my website and subscribe to that. So that aside, let's get into it. So I'm going to talk about personal safety. So this is a really important topic. It's something that I think all of you as CIC owners should think about. And I know on this channel already we've kind of talked about protecting yourself legally, but actually this is about personal safety, because when we are working in communities, we may interact and come into contact with dangerous individuals. They could be people that are attending our workshops, people that we're coaching, mentoring, doing activities with in our communities. They could also come to us online as well. So definitely we need to factor these things in and talk about our safety, because for those of you who've come from working from an employer, say you're working for the NHS, or I used to work for the probation service or whatever agency, you would have had a structure, you'd have had policies in place, you'd have had staff around you, you'd have had all sorts of things to keep you safe. But when you're a small business owner, you might be starting and it might just be you on your own. Yes, you might have a couple of supporting directors, but they may not be involved at all. So, you know, we really need to think about your personal safety if you are doing this on your own as a small business, as a freelancer as well. So here is my top tips. So number 1, let's get into thinking about your safety and how you can protect yourself through policies. So first of all, let's think about the policies that you might need. So you should definitely have a lone worker policy. So that is a policy, and in that policy you should have all sorts of strategies about how you would be if you're doing lone work, especially if you're working one-to-one with somebody. So think about what you could put in that policy. Again, I've got a template in my membership, but you can also Google this as well, or speak to somebody who knows about policies, HR people, stuff like that. So they would be able to give you some pointers. But the kind of things you'd put in is, say you're going to be on your own with somebody, you need to tell someone. So you need to have like a safety point. So you need to have another person involved so they can obviously check up on you, they know where you went. You could also leave that on like a virtual diary that other people have access to. They can see where you went and who you were seeing. So there's definitely certain things that you could do, maybe texting somebody before or after you have a personal session, or maybe working somewhere, doing a personal session, but somewhere that's populated. So you might meet them in a coffee shop, you might meet them in some kind of co-working space, so that there are other people around, there may be a receptionist around, staff and stuff like that. So think about a lone worker policy and what things you could put in place to keep yourself safe. Next policies I would say is make sure you have a complaints policy and a feedback policy. You don't want to get in a situation where you are receiving harassment from somebody, where maybe complaints turn nasty. So you need to be able to protect yourself there. So the advice I have is make sure you have on your website a complaints policy tab, so they can go and they can actually click on that and they can find out how to give you feedback and how to submit a complaint. What you don't want is to get into some kind of personal, emotional conversation with somebody where maybe you're getting defensive and maybe it's all getting a bit personal. So if somebody gives you negative feedback or a complaint, you need to direct them to more of an official process. So you say, first of all, thank you for your feedback. If you'd like to make a complaint, please see our complaints policy. Just leave it at that. They go to the complaints policy. have an official email address that isn't your personal email address. It looks like it goes to a team. So it could be, it could be support at your website, or even legal team at your website, or whatever. So you just create an email address that isn't your personal one, that looks like it's to a team. So they email then their complaint to the team. They then obviously you want to say that, your team will reply within 2 weeks. That gives them a bit of a call off as well. It's really good to put spaces in between correspondence. And then after that, say the complaint can't be resolved and they're still complaining, then at that point you could say, well, because if they're starting to say, I don't know, I'll take you to court or something, then if they want to take you to court, then they would need to put that in writing to you. So you should have that in the policy, where you say, at the point where this can't be resolved, we would offer maybe, first of all, you could say a mediation meeting with another person. So it wouldn't be you. So again, you depersonalize it. So you could offer a mediation appointment, because all court cases, like small claims court, will expect you to have some kind of mediation meeting. Offer a mediation meeting. Often people don't bother taking that, because they don't actually want to get into an actual conversation. And also you could say, you have to put it in writing to this address, your complaint in writing to this address. So say they're asking for a refund or something, they have to put that in written writing, and they have to post it to your address. It's not good enough for it to be emailed, okay? So you have the process on there. So you start with complaint, feedback, policy, email me. If it can't be resolved, mediation. If that fails, you need to write a written letter asking for a request, refund, or whatever. And then if they have done that, then of course they are willing, they are obviously able legally to take you to maybe a small claims court or something along those nature. So that is the process. So the idea is you depersonalize it, you stagger it out, you make sure there's different steps, so that they have to complete those steps themselves. What you don't want is just to get into like an argument that could turn into harassment and bullying. So that's the goal, getting away from that. So number 2, about your personal safety, again about depersonalizing things, is I wouldn't have your personal address on Companies House or on the internet. So there is ways you can do that. If you've already registered your CIC with your personal address, you can of course change your address, but it will be, the previous addresses will still be on Companies House. However, I understand you can actually apply to Companies House, and you could ask for security and privacy reasons that address be removed. So you could do that with Companies House, but just bear in mind, if you're going to set up a CIC, I'd go for a virtual address, or maybe if you've got a friend who's got a business who doesn't mind using their address, something along those lines. But don't use your home address, because if your home address is on there, of course, it's just going to make you feel really vulnerable, knowing that if somebody is out there who is harassing you, who does want to cause you harm, then they know your personal address. So you want to keep yourself and your family protected. So personally, I wouldn't do that. And then number 3 is about building a little bit of a team. So building a little bit of a team around you. So again, I've already talked about how there should be other people around, maybe like I said, in the co-working spaces, maybe you've got some volunteers that could help you. You could maybe have some other staff, hired maybe just to do sessions with you. So make sure you build sort of a little bit of a team. So I think that is absolutely key, to have other people. With your supporting directors, although they have a very minimal role, they might not mind just having a little bit of a safety role. So that's something you could talk to them about, and seeing if they're prepared to just do that. Like I said, it doesn't really have to be that onerous. It could just be a case of having, like I said, some kind of open sheet where they can see your calendar, so they know where you're going and stuff like that. And you could do safety check-ins with them. Also, of course, you could just utilise your own, obviously, family, your partners or whatever, and do safety checks with them. So yeah, definitely, I would absolutely say make sure you look after your personal safety, because there are dangerous people out there and we do need to keep ourselves safe. So it is absolutely essential to do that. Now, I have talked on this channel before about directors insurance. That's if you do get into some kind of legal bother. If you've got directors insurance, then all of you can get some legal advice should you be taken to court. So that's always a good idea. It's only about £25. I'll pop the link for that in the description of this video, so you can get yourself covered for that and make sure you and your directors are all covered. So I hope that video was useful. If it was, please hit the subscribe button.